Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC Fight Night, Moraes versus Sandhagen. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight, we have in the featherweight division, Yusuf Zalal versus Ilia Topuria. So look at this fight right here. Zalal will have the height and reach advantage, the speed advantage, the technical advantage, and the experience advantage. But Topuria brings a solid skill set as well. He has some decent grappling and definitely has a good hook to the body, some good hooks to the body. But as far as like striking wise, I think the Zalal is just overall just on a completely different. Well, now I'm not going to just size him up like he's that different on the level of striking, but I just see like it's clearly notable that he's the better striker. Like he just, and as far as competition he's fought as well, like Topuria, even against the lower tier competition he fought, who kind of just looked stiff and looked slow and were there to be hit, his arsenal wasn't that high. He didn't really just dominate as much as he could have. In a lot of those fights, if you probably put someone like Zalal or a UFC caliber opponent, they probably would have put him away earlier. And I'm not saying that everyone in the UFC or just being UFC caliber alone makes you better than Topuria. And I'm sure coming to the UFC, he's going to step it up some more. Even if I looked at it with like a year ago or 2 years ago, and you know, with these young fighters, a year and 2 years is like 10 years to a veteran fighter. So I'm expecting a better Topuria than what I've seen. Well, I've been said, it is a big step of competition. And also he's not fighting an old over the hill fighter, but a young fighter just like himself. And this fighter will be 2 to 3 inches taller than him, and it will have the same amount of reach advantage in the reach as well. And they bring similar skill sets. I think Zalal is much more active. Doesn't pack as much power, but much sharper, much cleaner, much more elusive, much better footwork, much lighter on his feet. So like the speed, the technique, and experience. I think Topuria might have a slight strength advantage, a slight one, but not a big notable one. Well, no, I just think Zalal really has all the tools and all the pretty much everything kind of favors Zalal in this one to win this one. But I do see it's an interesting competitive fight, but I think Zalal is just going to be 1 or 2 steps ahead the whole fight in the grappling and in the grappling and in the striking. So I just see Zalal kind of not coasting, but clearly winning all the rounds, like I said, and getting a decision in this one. So in this fight, I got Yusuf Zalal via decision. Now on to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall versus Alan Badout. So look at the one right here. You got 2 big boys at heavyweight division. But let me see what Alan Badout brings. Alan Badout has a good frame. I think he's 6'3", 6'4", big, powerful. But the thing with me that kind of makes me question Badout, he only has 1 loss. I can make it seem like he has 100 losses and he keeps making mistakes But I feel like it's an issue with him that it can be something that can be reoccurring. He's only been made to pay for it 1 time in his MMA career, probably a couple times in his kickboxing career, but only 1 time in his MMA career, and that was to Daichi Lungiabila, who's up at 205 right now in the UFC. They fought outside the UFC, and I think EFC is the organization. And the fight ended like, less than a minute or something. So Badout, at first he started the fight off pressuring and also using his reach, doing front kicks, using his jab, using long distance punches, and keeping it like so at distance. Then for whatever reason, he just ran in there, smothered his own punches against a shorter, more powerful, heavy hitting fighter, and just started squaring up and swinging wild punches. And he instantly got knocked out within 5 seconds of doing it. Why did you do that? It's early in the fight. You know you're going against a explosive fighter. Why give a explosive fighter the chance to hit you with all that power? Matter of fact, when you fight early against a heavy hitter, you maintain that distance. Don't give him a free shot. And let that power drain down. Then maybe on in later rounds when they start to slow down and don't got the power as much, then you kind of go in. And even then, you never kind of rush a puncher. You gotta know you pretty much either feint out their power out, make them hesitate on that power, so then you can get your own shots off. But you don't just run in at a puncher. So that just kind of made me question his fight IQ a lot. Why are you doing that? You got knocked out. And I've seen this in other fights. He got away with it. He kind of gets overexcited and starts rushing into things. And going against a guy like Tom Aspinall, who is a sharpshooter. He's not a guy that's going to really throw up a lot of volume. Not a guy that's really going to go out there and, like I said, not a pillow puncher, not a guy that's going to throw a bunch of volume. He's a sharpshooter. And when you make sloppy mistakes like that against a sharpshooter, you usually pay for it. So you come out there, I think if Badout fights technical, this is definitely could be a pick'em type fight. But with that tendency of his to kind of get wild at times versus a sharpshooter like Aspinall, I think he'll get walked right into that right hand and knocked out. I think it's a fill-out process. Then Badout kind of falls into his pattern, and Aspinall walks right into a right hand and knocks him out at that mid to late portion of the first round. So in this fight, I got Tom Aspinall via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the middleweight division, Marcus Perez versus Dricus du Plessis. So I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but that's what it is, and I said this before, but yeah. Look at this fight, I'm not all that impressed with Dricus du Plessis. I think his best win is Roberto Soldic, but also Soldic TKO'd him in their last fight. So the first fight, Plessis submitted Soldic. In the second fight, Soldic knocked out Plessis. Even in the first fight, Soldic was controlling most of that fight. He was rocking with every single punch he was landing. And then I'm not even all that impressed with Soldic. Overall, I'm not impressed with really nobody he's fought in all his competition or him or his skill set. I'm not saying he's not a solid fighter. I'm just saying as far as like, somebody that's coming to the UFC, like a flexing like they were 2-weight champion or 2-belt champion at one point in some other organization. I'm not really all that impressed by his skill set. You like dropping down to welterweight, he would easily get lost in the pack. Like there's plenty of guys that fight like him at welterweight. At middleweight, there's a little bit of a difference because, like I said, every weight class has their own styles that you can see more of at a particular weight class. But you see a lot of fighters like him at welterweight and much better at what he does at a welterweight in lower weight classes. But at middleweight, he'll be a little bit different for a little bit of time. But then when he goes further up in the rankings, like I don't think he really get further up in the rankings with his skill set. And a lot of fighters from South Africa really come to UFC and don't have great careers. They come to UFC, might get 1 or 2 wins, and then they go on like a 5-fight losing streak, and then they're out of the UFC and never heard from again and forgotten. So he's also come from an area where you have not seen great success from. And when I look at skill set, it looks average, especially at welterweight and below, or really welterweight particularly. But he's fighting at middleweight, and I'm getting off topic for that reason. By the way, he got a solid grappling. And with his striking, he kind of fights like Jan Blachowicz in a way. You know how he fought without the power, like Jan Blachowicz without the power, as far as how he fought Dominic Reyes and some other fighters. Like he'll come in, kind of leave his chin up a little bit, but throw volume at times, like do the little blitz and like really just put volume on you. And then those blitzes, they could clip you and put you out. Good kicks, like a rip to your body, rip to your head, like say, like similar to Jan Blachowicz in a way. Grappling probably, I don't know, like really, I'm saying like he's like a diet bland Jan Blachowicz in a way, and that could be a good thing. Now going against Marcus Perez, I think Marcus Perez is the more technical striker than him. I think he can hold his own to grappling or out grapple through places. But the thing with Marcus Perez is like he's so comfortable, letting people lead the dance in the fights. And a lot of times he just let a fighter just merely really. We look at his career in the UFC. I don't think he's really been stopped in the UFC. I'm forgetting if he was been stopped in the UFC. But when we really look at his UFC career, his losses come from people just outworking him. Have they been the better fighters necessarily than him? Not really. It's just the fact that if somebody pressures him, he's going to let them pressure him, let them put a volume. And that's typically been the fights he loses. And Plessis is a guy that's going to be aggressive. He's going to press that pace. And if you allow a guy like that pressure you, and that's a tendency that you have not addressed, then I'm definitely going to lean heavily to Du Plessis to win this one. And I think Perez don't really have great counters, so it kind of makes sense that somebody could be aggressive, just beat you by merely being aggressive. You don't have any counters. You don't have no counters or no answer to that. You're really just going to be on an A and B type of fight pattern. Like when I attack, you attack. I attack, you attack. Instead of when you have counters or anything to throw people off, and then you can you're like, I attack, you try to attack, I counter you. You try to attack, I throw a feint, throw you off, and I step off and make you have to reset, then I attack you again. Stuff like that. But he don't really have that. Or he don't think to maybe clinch up or something to slow somebody down. Do anything to don't give that A and B. Then when you go against other people, like they understand, like with these high volume fighters, they just spam like button mash, like A. They constantly attacking. They're not going no A and B. He kind of an A and B fighter, or your turn, my turn. What's it called? What they call those things? Strategy based games where it's like, or rules game on, or anything where you gotta be I attack, you attack pattern. And oftentimes if somebody just put up more volume, they're just gonna beat you every single time. And like I said, that's why Perez is. So to not drag this out any longer, Dricus du Plessis, merely because of outworking Perez, is how I see the fight going. With the striking and the grappling, just dictating the pace of this fight. So in this fight, I got Dricus du Plessis via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the heavyweight division, Ben Rothwell versus Marcin Tybura. So look at him right here. Tybura was skidding, Ben Rothwell was skidding, especially coming off his suspension for testing positive for some drug, some steroid, something. He came back and I think went on a 2-fight losing streak, and now he's like on a, let me check real quick. He's definitely on at least a 1-fight winning streak now. Oh yeah, he's on a 2-fight winning streak because he beat OSP and he beat Stephen Struve. So a 2-fight winning streak. He came back and went on a 2-fight losing streak. Well, actually, he was on a 3-fight losing streak because he lost to Junior Santos before testing positive. and then he came back and lost 2 fights, and now he's won 2 fights. So he went from a 3-fight losing streak to a 2-fight winning streak. And now Tybura, I think he was getting got knocked out like 2 or 3 times in a row, and now he's on like a 2-fight winning streak. Ben Rothwell kind of got back on the winning streak for Ben Rothwell. Tybura went more to his grappling to get these wins. Like really, when he has fights, he's been taking these guys down and controlling them and dominating on the ground, and that's where he's been winning pretty much by being the more well-rounded fighter. But why he was losing was because, he has fast feet and can throw those head kicks so fast. He doesn't have the best head movement, and he doesn't have the best footwork. Like, he can throw those kicks up, but that has nothing to do with your footwork. You can have the best kicks in the world, but your footwork can still be less than stellar. And you can move your feet, but that don't mean that your head moves with your feet. You can move your whole body, but your head not really moving. Somebody can still catch you. You gotta move it's not about just having footwork or just having head movement. It's about having all of those things. And then without lacking in one of those areas can definitely leave you open and vulnerable to getting cracked. So footwork, head movement, defense, different stuff. I don't really think his defense is that great. I don't think his head movement is that great. I don't think his footwork is all that bad. But when you don't really have no good defense or good head movement, then it becomes an issue. So Ben Rothwell versus Tybura. I think Ben Rothwell has issues with faster fighters, and Tybura can put on that type of fight where it's kind of like a faster paced fighter or a fighter hard to get. And in general, you can move your feet any bit. It'd be hard for Ben Rothwell to catch you because Ben Rothwell is a slow, plodding fighter. But Tybura doesn't have the best footwork. But I think probably in the first round, he can kind of get away from Ben Rothwell and have Ben Rothwell chasing him a little bit and kind of behind a step or two. But I think overall, as the fight goes on, Ben Rothwell's eventually going to get his hand on Tybura. Ben Rothwell still has that legendary chin, still strong, still hit hard, still an annoying fighter to deal with. And like I said, Tybura doesn't have the best footwork, especially later as the fight goes on. But he's been getting stopped early, so that's another thing to kind of question. Like, he's been getting stopped early, so does he get stopped late in this one? Or if you're betting him to get stopped, is it you expect Ben Rothwell to come out and stop him early? Or if the fight go on further, he gets warmed up and he gets looser out there, and then it'd be harder for Ben Rothwell to find him. But I'm going to lean to him kind of getting worn down by Ben Rothwell's power, his pressure, and his side just weighing on Tybura. Just, bullying him around the cage, trying to chase him down, cut the cage off, then eventually gets him cornered. Ben Rothwell goes on you and starts landing shots on you, putting you in the little dirty box and then beating on you and weighing on you. I don't think Tybura can have real success with taking Rothwell down because Rothwell has some solid takedown defense. Unless you're like a NCAA wrestler or some real standout wrestler or some standout grappler, you're going to have a hard time taking Ben Rothwell down. And he's going to put you in that little choke of his and make you tap out. But that's why I see Ben Rothwell just pressuring Tybura, cutting the cage off. Maybe in the first round, not being able to really keep up with him, but as the fight goes on, he eventually finds him, start to land shots, lock up with him, weigh on him, drain him. Then that third round, Tybura kind of labored in that round, and then Ben Rothwell just unloading on him, and Tybura not really being able to move those feet, and he's gonna be stuck stuck against his cage, with his back against his cage more in that round, and that's not a good sight, especially against Rothwell, and Rothwell is just gonna unload on him and put him out in that third round. So in this fight, I have Ben Rothwell via third round TKO. Now to our co-main event, we have in the 145-pound division, Edson Barboza versus Makwan Amirkhani. Or Makwan. It sounds like it got like a silent R in there sometimes, how some people say it. I don't know how he says it, but it could be Makwan or Markwan, but either way, it's Amirkhani versus Edson Barboza. But first off, I'm going to say with this one, Barboza's been losing some questionable decisions. Like I feel he clearly beat Dan Ige. I feel like he beat Paul Felder, but Paul Felder fight was closer, and there was those elbows on the ground. He took him down. Paul Felder definitely did more. But yeah, the Paul Felder fight was close. I feel like the Paul Felder fight could have been a fight they could have definitely gave to Paul Felder. They obviously did give to Paul Felder. I feel like that was a fight they could have gave to Paul Felder. But I feel like Dan Ige fight was clear that he beat Dan Ige. I think he dropped him in like 2 to 3 rounds. And matter of fact, I think he dropped him like in every round almost. I don't know, but either way, he dropped him, and then it's not like Danny had so much that like it was close striking, and then you got dropped into 2 of those rounds. He might have won 1 round out of this fight, or maybe no rounds. I think 1 round he didn't get a drop, but he got struck that round. But either way, it is what it is. He got robbed in that fight, but the Paul Felder fight is not a robbery. But I feel it's a fight that should have went to him. So that's just get that off the table. How do you see this fight right here? Edson Barboza is clearly the better striker, the more experienced fighter, for the better competition. In stylistically versus Makwan Amirkhani, I think this is a fight that heavily favors Barboza. If Makwan Amirkhani can be aggressive and get this fight to the ground, then he can cause Barboza a lot of issues and probably be able to get him out of there early. Probably the best technique-wise grappler that Edson Barboza has ever fought. Amirkhani's grappling is just so clean on the ground. So if he gets him down, it could be a very big issue. But the thing is that Amirkhani is a grappler, not a wrestler. And the people who have had success taking Barboza down have been wrestlers like Kevin Lee and Khabib Nurmagomedov, who are two of the best wrestlers in the sport's history and are still very dominant. So, even though some people have done it, don't mean Amirkhani can do it. But if he can get it to the ground, he probably can get a finish on Barboza or definitely do some damage. But another thing with Amirkhani, even if he does get on the ground, say he doesn't have that success, he has questionable cardio, and he has a suspect body, and Barboza can rip those kicks to the body very like sneakily and very powerfully and put you away one body shot or body kick, as we saw with Paul Felder, with Dan Hooker, and we have seen with several other fighters. It could be body shots or kicks. He's dangerous with all those shots. He's the fastest fighter, the sharper fighter, and he has amazing takedown defense versus a guy who striking never looked the most impressive, more so semi one-dimensional grappler. He did get like one flying knee on somebody, then he turned into a submission, I believe. But Mahmoud Amirkhani definitely would say you're not really worried about his striking. More so, it's definitely his grappling. And that's Barboza has almost locked down defense unless he's going against a heavy pressurer or a top-notch wrestler. So I think he can stuff Amirkhani's takedowns, rip him to the body, wear him down. I don't think Amirkhani's going to be able to take too many of the body shots from Barboza. And I think we kind of short work in a way. Amirkhani kind of been aggressive and having semi-success with his grappling or getting to his grappling early on. But once Barboza has been able to stuff some shots, go to his body, like switch kick to the body and come up top with some shots, I think he eventually goes back to the body. Is Amirkhani starts leaning over, drops him with a body shot, and puts him away in that second round. So in this fight, I got Essen Barboza via second round TKO. Now on to our main event we have in the bantamweight division, Marlon Moraes versus Corey Sandhagen. I almost said Cody, but yes, Corey Sandhagen and Marlon Moraes. So this is an interesting matchup for sure. And I'm not just saying that to say it. But yeah, interesting matchup for sure. Not just saying it just to say it. So Corey Sandhagen will have a huge height advantage as he has over most of his opponents, being like 9 feet tall at 135. Actually, I'm exaggerating a little bit. He's 5'11" at 135. And Marlon Moraes, he's a bigger 135er, but he's not vertically a bigger 135er. He's compact and filled out. But then again, like say all that stuff, like he has a big frame, like he's like muscled and holds it very well. But he's 5'6" at the weight class, so that's a significant height advantage. It's like that's a 5-inch height advantage for Corey Sandhagen, who'll have a huge reach advantage as well. But I think Marlon Moraes is the overall more technical fighter and overall the more well-rounded fighter. But I think Styles kind of favors Sandhagen in this one. And also the fact that it's a 5-rounder. And Sandhagen is the fighter that gets stronger as the fight goes on. And he's a cardio machine, where Marlon Moraes, we have seen him gas in multiple occasions. So it's seeming like a fight where Corey Sandhagen is going to kind of come on later in the fight and then win the fight, or either put it away or just grind out the decision. Like maybe after the second round starts to really take over in that third or that half portion of the second portion of that second round on fourth. But kind of seeming like that type of fight. But it's interesting in a way. I think Marlon Moraes, with it, like I said, been more well-rounded. I think if he can take this to the ground, he can have a good chance of submitting Sandhagen. But then again, we've seen Sandhagen against a Sunsound and some other grapplers, and they took him down, and he's been able to weather the storm. And really in a Sunsound fight, he didn't have much issue with a Sunsound on the ground. He did get taken down, did have some grappling changes, but it's not like he feared so bad against a Sunsound. And when he got back to his feet, it was not like he was in any panic on the ground, got back to his feet, stay composed, and to continue to pick apart on Sunsound. Another fight, I think his debut, he was in some issues, but he was able to survive and get back to his feet. But really outside of the Sterling fight, his grappling has been holding up for the most part. So I'm not, like I said, giving Moraes his cardio and the fact that we really haven't seen his submission game that much in his career, especially his UFC career, outside of when he hurts opponents. I don't think it's going to be a path he's going to necessarily try to go to. He might try to implement it, but the fact that it's a 5-round and, grappling takes a lot of energy, he's probably going to try to avoid it. And more so try to go for the kicks. Going against a longer, lankier boxer, you attack the legs, and that's probably what he's going to want to do. I think he got success with that, but Corey Sandhagen's tough. I don't see him getting stopped via strikes, unless it's just that perfect head kick or perfect body kick, which Moraes has a good chance of landing. And with Sandhagen, I see where he can exploit the issue with Moraes, as I saw in both the Aldo fight and Cejudo fight, is that with these slide stance fighters, even though that's probably not what they call themselves, but I call them like slide, like the guys like Adesanya and the Wildu and Moraes, even though they're all not the same. and all kind of different. They kind of this thing where they can slide their feet out of and avoid leg kicks. They can lean back and avoid head kicks. And like they always kind of in range but out of range. Like they could jump out of range and come back in range and counter. But that kind of style kind of gives them the ultimate defense to basically every strike except like straights. Like that right hand, like, because you can't lean out of a right hand. Like, you can't lean past a strike. Like, when you're leaning back, all that does is make you fall right into the right hand. So, like, you can lean back from a kick. You can lean back from hooks. You might be able to avoid and slip some jabs, but you leaning back, and somebody fires a right hand, it's going to crack you every single time. And that's why he got caught repeated times. He got caught like 7 times in a row by the right hand from Cejudo. And when he got rocked and was getting, out of his best round was because Moraes had no answer. He kept firing the right hand because like I said, you could lean from hooks, you could avoid some jabs, but you lean straight back, you're gonna get caught with the right hand every single time. And he had to make adjustments for that in the outer fight. And he couldn't make the adjustment in the Cejudo fight. But at least we've seen that he can make an adjustment. But with a fighter like Sandhagen with the volume and how long he is, you're getting caught by right hands from a short midget like Cejudo. Imagine a guy who's 5'11" with that, like a yard reach of like arms. It's gonna be hard for him to avoid that right hand. But I think early on, he's gonna be able to kind of intercept it with the leg kicks and kick Sandhagen's leg out early, inside leg kicks, and kind of make him not be able to plant and fully extend on it early. But over time, I think Sandhagen's going to be able to weather the storm. A slow starter in Sandhagen versus a fast starter in Moraes. And I think Moraes might be able to take the first couple rounds. But I think as fight goes on, Moraes going to start to slow down. And then Sandhagen's going to be able to find that right hand more often. Be able to tag Moraes with it, bust him up with it. And then start to stick his jab on him and really start to pick up his pace. I think Moraes starts to slow down. I don't think he gets stopped in this one. But I think kind of from that second half of that second round on, I think the rounds heavily favor Sandhagen. I'm not saying he's going to win all of them. I'm not saying I'm basically saying he's going to win them all. Because if he loses the first and loses the second, he has to win the last 3 rounds. But I'm definitely leaning into him winning 3 rounds. And then in that third, fourth, and fifth round, just pressing the pace on a slow end and fading Moraes. I think he might even throw a takedown in there just to take him down and land some ground and pound and just weather him out, like drain him even more. By the way, what I see is just basically a good start for Moraes, but starts to slow down. Sandhagen starts to pick up the pace and pick up the volume and just outworks Moraes and dictates the pace down that final stretch from the third, fourth, and fifth and beats him to decision. So in this fight, I got Corey Sandhagen via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC Fight Night, Moraes versus Sandhagen. And as always, thanks for watching.